Okay, so for the sake of this tutorial, I've already done my timer map, CC, framers, blurs, scales and shakes. Today we're just going to be focusing on the eye glow portion of the effect. I'm working with a 1 second clip in a 24 FPS comp, but this is transferable between projects and styles. So depending on how you have your comp laid out, you want to put this before any compositing, but also before any shakes and CCs and stuff. So just branch out from your main part of the comp and just add a matte control. Just connect it like so and get yourself any sort of masking tool. This can be a polygon, rectangle, ellipse, it really doesn't matter. Connect it to the garbage map, hit invert, and just make sure that your mask picks up on all the parts that you want to glow. This is only really necessary when you have similar colors and shades in the same scene. This is just going to make sure that we isolate the area, and you can be quite forgiving when it comes to the amount of space that you give in the mask. So just make sure that you can watch the full thing without any detail loss. So you can see right here, it was a little bit short here. So just make sure that from start to finish, your subject is in the mask. No keyframing needed, but you can always keyframe it to get a more precise result. This looks fine for me. The next thing we're going to get is we're going to get a HSL keyer, and from the matte control connect it into the HSL keyer and just draw over the subject. This is going to detect the color ranges in the object, or your subject in this case. And when we're done, what we can do is we can go into the matte finesse, play a bit with clean whites and clean blacks. Also, it's not necessary, but you can also soften the edge on the ellipse or whatever masking effect you used. But for me here, it doesn't seem too necessary. That looks pretty good to me. I'm just gonna clean the whites a little better, get rid of the white a little bit more, so we have something like this. Then just grab a merge node and connect the HSL keyer to the green input, which is the foreground, meaning it will be at the front of the clip. Now when we come back here, we don't actually notice any difference, and that's because we haven't added any effects to our selection. So just add Dream Glow. This is a free plugin that you can get by Escape Edits on YouTube, and it's arguably one of the best glows in Davinci. You can copy my settings if you want, it's up to you. You can experiment, find what works for you. And now when we come back into our comp, we have glowing eyes. Pretty simple. If you want to change the color, however, of your subject, I would recommend before the Dream Glow adding a color corrector node and just upping the strength in the master tab. So if I want to make the red more prominent, I would do something like this. We go back. He definitely has red eyes now. I'm just going to turn the blend down just so it's not as strong, so we have something more like this. Back into the Dream Glow over here, and yeah, that's basically the structure that the effect is built on. Alright, so now let's get into some secret sauce. So another effect that you can add on top of the glow is raise. Make sure that it's in the center of the subject so that you're getting a kind of even effect between the eyes, I guess. And just play about with things like the decay, the weight, the exposure, threshold, and blend. And it's really subtle, but you can kind of see, I hope it's not getting compressed too much, but you can see if I switch the channels that there's a really subtle raise effect that's coming from our source, in this case the character's eyes. I'm just going to make it a little bit more prominent so we have something like this. I think this looks really nice. Another effect you can add to your glow is flares. I prefer using Universe's light flare effect, but it does take some setting up and you need to have the Red Giant Universe plugin. So get yourself a background node and type uni.null light factory easy. And as you can see, we have a lens flare. What I'm going to do is just change the light location on the X and Y to both 0. This is going to make sure that it is right in the middle of the screen. The next thing that I'm going to do is add a planner tracker. and connect your original source clip into the planner tracker yellow input. We can view this, and let's go to the start of our composition and just select, like you would with any other mask, around the eyes. You can use the mask that you used from earlier, or you can make a new one. In this case, I'm just going to use a new one. Now what I'm going to do is hit set, hybrid point and area, make sure that output is on translation, and hit set, and then go. After hitting go, you want to hit this button here, track to end. Now once our tracking is done, we can make ourselves a planner transform by just hitting this button right here. It will be added somewhere in your column, you're just going to need to look for it. And then after the light factory or whatever lens flare effect you've used, connect that into the planner transform, and if I just scrub through here, you can see that it is using the tracking data of our eyes to go all over the place. So now what we can do is we can tweak our lens flare a little bit. So we can get rid of our planner tracker now, and I'm just going to get a merge for in between the Dream Glow and the color corrector. And I'm just going to connect the planner tracker to the merge, and on the light factory node I'm just going to hit render alpha. Now after the planner tracker, what you want to do is get a regular transform node and just move it until it is on the eye. And as you can see, it's sticking perfectly to the eye. But what about the other one? Add another merge, connect the planner tracker to this merge as well, get a separate transform for this eye, and just whack it on top. I'm also going to use the same color corrector node from earlier on and just put that behind our lens flare. Now that our lens flare tracking is all sorted, we can actually change our lens flare. So you can do one of two things. You can hit choose a flare, or you can just scrub through and see what you like. Me personally, I like hitting choose a flare. Some of my favorite lens flares are the alpha based, desert digital and digital preset. For this example, I'm just going to use digital preset, and we can hit apply, and it's going to do everything for us. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keyframe the flare brightness at the start and the end of our composition, and I'm going to go from 100 to 0, and I'm just going to have a 50-50 S curve, just like so. That way it gradually gets smaller throughout the edit, revealing the eye glow behind the flare. So the flare draws attention to the original eye glow, but then eventually goes away.